Yes people, welcome back to Pearson Fitness. Going to quickly run through my leg day, but more importantly, the rehab, mobility, the routine that I do before every single leg day to minimize any sort of injury. I've had a lot of injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries, back injuries, and this is the routine that I have done to keep me injury free, and I want you to do the same. Do not neglect your mobility routine. So I want to talk about the pre-workout ritual, pre-workout routine that I follow personally to set me up perfectly for my heavy lifting, especially on my leg days, my squats and deadlifts. So start off, I always get my mind right. I'm a big believer in getting your mind right before starting a session. So I do a 5-minute warm-up, set my timer on the bike. If I'm maybe in the gym, I can do a ski, a row, whatever it is. 5 minutes, I sip on my pre-workout as I'm doing it, listen to some music, get my head right into the game just beforehand. Then we move on to some mobility, which I'll jump into next. After we do 5-10 minutes mobility, get yourself right before the session, we move on to some prehab, some rehabilitation exercises to prevent you from getting injured and prime you for the exercises that we're going to be going into. Well, next up, we move on to the strength-based movements. Like I said, I've been building up to a heavy movement on my compound lifts and my squats and my deadlifts. I'm going to walk through how to build up properly to not only prime yourself, but also reduce injury. Move on to some strength stuff. So for today, we've got deadlifts, RDLs, rear foot elevated split squats, a few calf raises, and then I like to finish with an... So as I was saying before, my camera got cut off because my camera died on me. I like to finish all my sessions with some form of conditioning. I'm a big believer in finishing with some conditioning to just mainly make you feel good, but also stay functional and athletic. So today was a 9-minute AMRAP. I think it was something like 12 front squats, 12 deadlifts, and a 300 or 250 meter run. As many rounds as you can in 9 minutes. So with all of my sessions, with all of my programs, with all my online clients, I always plan out my sessions, and I also record and track everything that I do. So the app that I use for my personal tracking and for all my online clients is an app called TrueCoach. So this is what it looks like when you load it up. You will have your session literally there for you for every single day. All the sessions have videos and explanations on how to do them. So if I click begin on today's workout, we'll start off with a warm-up, a little bit of general mobility. There is a video there explaining and walking through a mobility warm-up routine. Then all of the exercises, like again, my prehab rehabilitation exercises, my dead bugs, Copenhagen planks, my lateral band walks, Russian kettlebell swings. Videos are all there, and all you've got to do is just write in and track the weights that you're lifting and obviously trying to progress them. With the prehab stuff, it doesn't matter too much, but when it comes to our main lifts, like my deadlift, my program's on there, built to a heavy six reps in as many sets as needed. Again, videos are on there, you can literally just click on them. If you're unsure of the technique on a deadlift, slide through, and it'll take you through them all, every single type of variation. Same with the next exercise, Romanian deadlift, and so on and so forth. And you can actually track your exercises over the course of weeks and months. This is what I do with my clients to make sure that they are progressively overloading and getting stronger. So it's all on there, all saved. Training program goes straight to your phone. And at the end of each session, just click end workout and I'll get a notification. But that's what I do. I make sure I obviously track all my workouts. That's really important as well. But back to me talking, we're going to jump into my mobility routine. Again, it's something that I really want to push as much as possible for everybody out there. Do not neglect your mobility, even if you feel like you're not prone to injury, you've never had injuries in the past. The sooner that you start implementing prehab and mobility routines, the longer that you're going to be able to train, and the longevity is something that I'm a big believer in. You want to be able to move around and stay functional and be able to play with your grandkids when you're like 70, 80, rather than being like Ronnie Coleman and kind of hammering painkillers. But anyway, we'll jump in to the mobility routine to start off with. So first stretch I always start off with is a banded dorsiflexion stretch to stretch off the ankles. If you don't have good ankle mobility, it's going to massively affect you on your squat movement. So let's wrap the green resistance band around a secure object, which is my squat rack with loads of weight on. Make sure you've got plenty of weight. Got a slightly elevated box here just to get a little bit of an added stretch. And all we're going to do is grab the band and we're going to slide it into our foot, right into the gap where the shin meets the ankle. So right in the joint, tuck it right in, and all we're going to do is take a nice big step forward. Then from there, keeping our heel on the ground, we're going to think about driving our knee forward over our toe. So we're really trying to stretch that ankle off, stretch back into the Achilles, driving forward, Again, if you think about this, this is the squat position. If you've got bad dorsiflexion, you can only get your knee there. You're gonna have to sink back and you're probably gonna have to lean forward to counteract the body weight. So leaning forward as far as you can, stretching it off. Sometimes I like to rock back and forward, move my knee to different angles, but just feeling that stretch. The band, if you have any ankle impingement like myself, we'll just move that out the way and get a little bit of an added stretch. So next up, we're going into a little bit more functional mobility, doing the greater stretch. So this is a great one for the thoracic spine and the hips. I always do this with all my clients before any sort of training session, just to loosen everything off, especially if you are in a job that you're at a desk quite a lot, or in an office job or anything like that. So all we're gonna do, start in a press-up position. We'll bring our right foot forward to start with. We're gonna drop our left knee as far back as we can, stretching off the hip and really squeeze and push our left hip down towards the ground. From there, our inside hand is gonna rotate. Sometimes your back might click. Back down, and then repeat on the other side. Back down, and then from this position, I like to add in a little bit of a quad stretch. So I'm gonna reach around with my right hand, gonna grab my left foot, again, just to get a little bit more of a stretch in the hips and the quads. I'm gonna pull my heel into my bum and just stretch it off. Because it's just an active warm-up, don't have to hold the stretch for too long. Swap sides, left foot forward, right knee as far back as we can, and then repeat 3 times either side. So next little stretch for the hips, for the glutes, is gonna be the pigeon stretch. Again, we're just gonna do 1 set of this stretch, gonna hold it for a little bit longer. So to start with, we're gonna go right foot forward, starting in that press up position. From there, we're gonna bring right foot, and if you've got a mat, try and get your shin parallel with the front of the mat. We really wanna work internal rotation of the hip joint. So trying to get that front hip as close as you can to parallel. Try not to tuck it in too much. And from there, if our right foot's forward, we're gonna put our left hand onto our right foot. Right hand's just gonna be there for support. We're gonna drop our left foot and left knee as far back as we can. You might only be able to hold that position, but if you can, we're gonna drop our chest down to the floor and try and get our head flat on the ground and just relax in that position for a second. Again, if you've got lower back pain, this is a really good stretch for it. Next stretch I like to do, if you've got a band, use a band. If not, you can use a towel. This one's just to stretch off the hamstrings, and if you have any lower back injuries, you have any sciatica problems, this will help stretch off the sciatic nerve, especially if you're going into some deadlifts or anything like that. So band around the ball of the foot. All we're gonna do is lean back. The band's on the left foot, so we're gonna keep my right leg straight, gonna lean back, pull the toe back as far as we can, keep tension on the band, keep our legs straight, and slowly just lift up and hold in that position. Trying to aim and get our leg roughly 90 degrees, nice and straight in the air. And then what I like to do from there is just go into 5 straight leg raises, keeping tension on the band, stretching off that sciatic nerve, loosening off the hamstrings, and then relax there. And repeat on the other side, just a quick one. Just gonna go into a split stretch now, so feet as wide as we can, just to stretch off the adductors. Feet as wide as we can. What I like to do from here is just push myself forward, loosening off the inside of our thighs into our adductors. Just lean forward, especially if you're going some squats. We want to loosen off our adductors the best we can. Then I sometimes like to reach to one side, reach to the other, and just keep this one flowing. So going into our final mobility stretch, especially if you're going into some squats after this, definitely work on this one. So it's just going to be holding a squat, so a nice deep squat hold. So feet in a squat stance, I like to go just a little bit up wider than shoulder width, toes ever so slightly pointed outwards. All we're going to do there is come down and touch our toes, legs nice and straight, and then drop the hips back, driving the knees forward, and just sit in that position, really using that elbows to push the hips out. Try and keep your balance the best you can. If you need to ever so slightly come up onto your toes, to start with you can, stretching off the ankles, stretching off the hips. So what you can also do while you're in this position to get a little bit more of ankle range of motion is get a kettlebell or a dumbbell, pop it on your knee, and really try and get that dorsiflexion working, driving that knee over the toe, stretching off the backs of the calves and the Achilles. Leaning to one side, hold that position, and then swap. Holding a kettlebell or a dumbbell will help keep you more upright. There's a little bit more counterbalance. And once you're happy, stand up, and we'll start our prehab routine. So next up is our prehab routine. Now trust me, I've had a lot of injuries, and this is something that I do religiously before every single leg session, and since I haven't had any sort of injury. I'm still recovering from a lower back injury from about 6 months ago, and I've been doing this and progressively overloading my deadlift, my squats, and my back feels absolutely fine. So I know it sounds like a lot of things to do, however, trust me on this one, it will massively help you. So the first exercise that we're going to be doing is dead bugs. Now, if you have a partner or a personal trainer, what I'd like to do with my clients is I like to start with a long, thick resistance band underneath the lower back. So dead bugs can be done wrong so many times. So lay a band out to the side so a partner can pull it from one side. So all we're going to do is lay back, make sure the band is in line with the arch of our lower back. If it's too low on our coccyx bone, it's going to be cheating. If it's too high, you're going to be cheating. So we'll want it right where our back would naturally have that arch. So all we're going to do from there is bring our knees up to 90 degrees, lay back, have our shoulder blades on the floor, and I want you to think about pushing your hips down into the ground. So push our lower back down, flat into the ground. Now you should instantly feel your core activate. If you're not doing it right. So all we're going to do is push down into the ground. And now there's a few progressions for this one, but today we're just going to work a simple dead bug. So arms are going to be up in line with our shoulders. We're going to go opposite arm, opposite leg. So starting with the right leg, left arm nice and slow down until our legs straight and our arms straight behind us. Now, in this position, I should not be able to pull this band out. If I do, it means my lower back is starting to arch. So if it does happen, reset. You might not have to go as far down to start with, but all we're going to go for is 10 reps either side, so 20, nice and slow and controlled. So knees up, arms up, nice and slow down. Double checking. No, that band's not going anywhere. Back up. Oh, if you're doing it right, should burn like mad. So next up, we have our Copenhagen side planks. So these are going to be working your adductors. If there's any athletes who are in sports where they change direction a lot, or anybody who has ever had hip pain or groin pain, for example, I've had a bilateral groin tear, so sportsman's hernia, building the strength of the adductors will massively help. Not a lot of people train the adductors. So training your adductors, do not neglect them. They'll massively help with hip pain, lower back pain, and knee pain. So building strong adductors, definitely something that is overlooked. So we're going to start with our leg straight on the bench. Now there is regressions to this. If you type in Copenhagen Plank regressions, it'll come up. You'll start with a bent knee on the bench rather than going straight. But for today, I'll demonstrate it's the normal Copenhagen Plank. So foot's going to be flat on the bench, same as like a side plank position. However, most of the pressure is going through the inside of our leg rather than the bottom leg. So elbow in line with the shoulder. I'm going to start with 40 seconds. You might only start with 10 seconds, 20 seconds, just progress it either side. So all we're going to do is up into position, leg nice and straight, bottom leg off the floor, and we're going to hold that, keep our hips nice and high, really pushing into the bench, chest out. If you want, you can have your arm up here, but I just want you to hold that position. Don't let the hips drop. Just keep breathing, stay nice and still, elbow in line with the shoulder, feeling that adductor working, and rest there. So I'm going 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, and then swapping over to the other side and repeating the same thing. So next up, we're going to be going into our lateral band walk. So grab yourself a resistance band, start with a lighter band and build up to a nice heavy band. So we're going to start, I like to start with the band around the balls of my feet. You can start with it around your ankles. That would be a little bit easier. A little bit easier again would be around the knees. So I like to start with it around my ankles. So we're going to start with our feet shoulder width apart, hips facing forward, standing nice and tall. All we're going to do is drop into a little bit of a quarter squat. Make sure our knees are pushed out. Again, trying to keep everything as still as possible in facing forward. Little quarter squat, toes pointed forward. We're going to go big step little step. Now the key to this one is not letting our feet or our knees cave in or come too close together. We don't want to be any really narrower than shoulder width apart. So what's going to look like is big step, little step, big step, little step. Don't want to see people's body rocking side to side like this. Everything nice and still. In total, I want 20 reps either side. So by the end of it, you should really feel it working your glute medius. Now your glute medius muscle is massively important in stabilizing the hip joint, helps reduce any knee pain. You need a strong glute. If you're an athlete, if you're anybody who wants to be strong, strong glutes is so important. So activating the glute medius will help keep our knees pushed out when we're squatting, keep everything nice and straight. And then to finish it off, I like to do a primer exercise. So if I'm doing squats, I would do a goblet squat. So if you've got a kettlebell, hold it up nice and high, feet in that squat stance, just widen shoulder width, toes pointed slightly outwards. We're going to drop the hips back, drive the knees forward, keep the upper back nice and still, and drive back up. However, today is my deadlift day, so I'm going to be doing kettlebell swings instead. 15 reps, just the primers, going into whatever movement we're going into. So kettlebell swings, start with that kettlebell in front. Similar sort of stance to your squat, toes ever so slightly pointed outwards. Kettlebell in front of us. Gonna hinge down, push the hips back, engaging our core, back nice and straight. Gonna grab that kettlebell, let it drop back, and propel through the hips. So push them hips up, squeeze the glutes at the top, drive through the heels. 15 reps. Then once you're done, drop it back in the front. So 2 rounds of that full routine, get your heart going, get everything activated, co-activated with the dead bugs, adductors activated with the Copenhagen planks, abductors activated with the lateral band walks, and then we're priming ourselves for the movement with our kettlebell swing or our goblet squats. So 2 rounds, keep it going, get the heart rate going, and then we'll jump into our main movement. Come on, pal, you want to come say hello? Got a mic now.
Mic?
Got a little mic, mate. Just hold that. Hey, little mic. You want to outro the video? Hit the mic. Hold the mic up.
This is mic like. Check 1 2 1 2 2 check 1 2. You've got to subscribe, like the video, follow Brendan Pearson Fitness on Instagram.
Yes.
Just a simple over an airport pick is.
Japan.